All right, so we are doing our first live stream ever, and we have a ton of viewers here. Looks like zero
Yeah.
right
Mom, you
now.
watching?
But granted, we didn't announce that we were going live. This is more of an experiment than anything else. But
Yeah, because we are going to be going live in just 2 weeks for the draft. So
yes,
actually the first two nights of the draft. So if you are looking for some unbelievable analysis, come to us.
yeah. I mean, if you want the best takes regarding the NFL draft, you don't need to talk to Daniel Jeremiah or I don't know Mel Kiper.
Right here.
Just come to us because we've been doing so much homework on the NFL draft compared to those guys.
Who's picking number one again? I don't.
Let me pull it up. But just to dive into it, because we don't want to waste everybody's time, and like we mentioned, if there's some hiccups, we apologize. This is our first live stream. We're kind of preparing to do this because we want to kind of you kind of doing this to make it more consistent.
Yeah.
Of a thing. So every week we do a show, we'd like to make it a live stream. Just because it's more fun and honestly it's easier.
A little more personal too.
Yeah. So anyway, let's dive into it. So I'm going to add this to the stage here. So we have the draft order. So the rules are Neil will be doing the NFC teams that are on the clock. We're going to be doing the first round tonight. And then later next week, we're going to be doing the second round. And maybe even the third round, we'll kind of just try to do like the first 100 players or so.
Yeah.
And I will do the AFC this week, and Neil does the NFC, and then we'll switch it next week. So I'll do the NFC, next week, and then you do the AFC. So
and those are kind of draft prep.
Yep. And this kind of gives us reasoning for, who's picking what, why are we picking which, things like that. So
are we allowing trades, Steven?
I think not. I guess we could reason it. You just have to have a good reason. So
yeah.
I think we should. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Okay. So
here we go.
On the clock, the Chicago Bears. So your favorite team. Who are we going with? I mean, I don't feel like this has been talked about enough.
So, well, let's see how many teams are interested. Well, we still have 11 teams. The Patriots, for whatever reason, want to trade up. New England, do you want to trade up, Mr. Kraft?
No.
It doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm still picking Caleb Williams.
No, because I was about to say, what would it cost me? Like, an arm and a leg. I ain't doing it.
Yeah.
Like, especially because I know I'm going to get one of the three quarterbacks at 3.
Yes.
So to kind of put Caleb Williams' profile up, he's one of the more interesting, or probably one of the best quarterback prospects to come out recently. I think the number one thing that you look at with Caleb Williams is his ability to make plays downfield all the time.
Yeah.
He was a winner of the Heisman Trophy, not last year, but the prior year. But despite him having that really crazy 9 yards an attempt every single year he played college football, what's crazy to me is the lack of turnover worthy plays in his profile. Because normally, like, Patrick Mahomes is a great example, and he's the guy that like everybody seems to comp for Caleb Williams. The thing about Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams that comp is Mahomes actually turned the ball over a little bit more than Caleb Williams did.
I think me and you have the same comp, and obviously as a Bears fan, it's a very optimistic comp, and one that maybe a few years ago I would have been like, I would never want that. Well, of course, I would always want this guy on my team. He really resembles Aaron Rodgers in a lot of ways.
I see that.
And it's not, I'm not saying he's going to have the same career as Aaron Rodgers. As a Bears fan, as much as Bears fans have made fun of Aaron Rodgers, I would take that 80 million times over. It would be a much better 15 years than I've ever had as a fan, or anybody has had as a fan, as a Bears fan, I should say. But what makes me think of Caleb Williams is the ability to of Aaron Rodgers, I should say, is the ability for Caleb to change the arm angles, the quick release that he has on the ball. Now Aaron didn't have that coming out of college. That was something that he did have to work on. His mechanics were a little bit like robotic when he was like if you go back on YouTube and watch Aaron Rodgers as a rookie in the preseason, like he held the ball up like this, 2 high elbows, and like it was very weird. He became a lot more relaxed. Aaron did take a lot of sacks early on in his career, and Caleb does too. But Caleb, where people are like, some people say, well, it's just doing the same thing as Trubisky. Nah, I don't think so. Because Caleb does have, and Joe Burrow actually said this one time on a podcast. I don't know whose podcast he was on. Most of Caleb's sacks and the highest time to throw have come on 3rd down. And that's kind of the down that, like, you're almost okay with the sack because, like, you never want a sack, but if you're going to take it, you don't want to put yourself behind the chains so that 3rd down is 3rd and 18 or something like that.
Yeah.
He took very little sacks on 1st and 2nd down. As you said, the turnover worthy plays are very low. He never had an interception on 3rd down, or between 3rd down and red zone situations, Caleb Williams had 1 interception in his entire career. That's pretty damn good. So I'm very optimistic about it. I'm not jumping the gun because my heart's been broken a number of times before by the Bears, but also they've never drafted a prospect this good. And I think it's, and I think he's entering a situation that is unprecedented for a rookie quarterback. I mean, he's walking on a team that won 7 of their last 13 games, which I know doesn't sound like great, but they were plus 50 in point differential. Like they were, like, apart from a disastrous first 4 games, they were an above average team last year.
Yeah. I think my comp is somewhere between like Aaron Rodgers, like you said, but I think he's got a little bit more mobility and to make plays with his legs than Rodgers did.
He's Gen Z Rodgers.
I think he's a bigger Kyler Murray is actually what I think.
That's true. Yeah, I think that would be a really good comp too. Yeah.
Kyler Murray has, in a lot of ways, a similar weakness in his game where he's like a big play hunter almost to his own detriment, where, he's always looking downfield. Even though he's like Kyler Murray's not the biggest guy, he's always looking to make the play. That's a good and a bad thing. Same thing for Caleb. His ability to make that play 20 yards downfield and always looking for those chunk plays, which are more valuable. Let's be real. I mean, if you can make 2 or 3 chunk plays in a given game, that's usually the difference in a game if you win or lose.
Yeah.
Because most NFL quarterbacks can put together a couple of drives to get points. It's the explosive plays that really win games. What I think about with Caleb, though, is I want to see him play a little bit more in structure. The maturity thing everybody brings up, I think that's completely overrated.
Yeah.
Could he be a prima donna? Maybe. I mean, granted, he's only 21. We haven't even seen his character fully develop yet.
Yeah.
We don't really know these guys' temperaments until, they're probably 20, 24, 25. As long as he has a clean record, which I assume he does.
That's the other thing. Like, I mean, he's not somebody, he wasn't getting into bar fights. He wasn't hanging around the bad crowd or something like that. I think his personality, he's very comfortable in himself. As I said, he's Gen Z. Like, he is not like the typical, franchise quarterback that people have like kind of like this, like, I don't want to say stoic, but who our dads thought of as franchise quarterback sort of a thing. He's not like that. And I don't think he ever will be. He just doesn't carry himself that way. And I think a lot of people too were put off by his dad, and I think I've seen some like kind of deeper dives into who his dad is, Carl Williams, and not the sprinter. But I guess he's just, at the end of the day, he's a shrewd businessman, the dad is. And USC even said, like, I guess Lincoln Riley said that he was never a part of, like, he was never like the dad that like when you think of Booby Miles from Friday Night Lights, his uncle, who's like, shouting things from the stands and he can pass and he can pass. Like,
Yeah.
that was not Carl Williams from everything I've read. He's just somebody that him and Caleb, this was a calculated, gamble for them, I guess. So like they made this gamble when Caleb was like 10 years old. He told his dad, I want to be an NFL quarterback. I want to be the best quarterback ever, or something like that. And his dad was like, okay. And he took him up on it. And he was like, this is what we have to do. We have to do this, this, and this now. We're going to have to do this, and this tomorrow. And his dad did like a deep dive about how this was like 4 or 5 years ago. In 4 or 5 years, which is now, that the NFL TV money was going to hit, and he would want his son to be on a team that this is where people were like, oh, he's going to pick the team. He wanted his son just to be on the team that was going to be in like the kind of the best market, but also a team that was going to be able to use their dollars that they were going to get from this huge burst in ad revenue. And sure enough, look what the Cap did this year. It jumped to like what, $25 million. So they kind of are, they're a father-son duo that I think is a little bit, and I'm not saying this, that he's going to be unbelievable, but they're just kind of mentally a step ahead of the game. Like they're kind of always looking at the next thing, which I think is awesome. I'm very excited for him. I'm hoping, especially for me and you as Bears Packers fans, that for once, like that, our rivalry can actually become a rivalry and it's not the Packers whooping up on the Bears. But I think I've even seen Packers fans, which is kind of weird this year on Twitter, that they're like almost genuinely excited. And in one way, like it's because they're like, hey, you know what? Like maybe these games will actually mean something.
No, I like the status quo. I think no, screw that. Like, no,
you want to beat the Bears 10 straight more times.
Yes, because it helps them get to the playoffs. But I don't think, I agree though. And to finish up on Caleb Williams, because we don't want to spend 10 minutes per pick. This is definitely the right move. A year in the making. They didn't necessarily earn this pick. This was earned by the Panthers and given to the Bears as part of the trade. And this is the right move to move on from Justin Fields. As a Packers fan, I do not like having Caleb Williams in this division. It's going to be a challenge for them to have to contend with. So I'm going to pull back up our draft board for PFF. So Caleb Williams, number 1. Sorry, this is so small. So the question I have for you. So
yeah,
on the basis of what we're doing here. Are we doing off what we think these teams should do or what we think they will do?
Well, that's, I think, what like the trade part, because if we're doing what we think they should do, that's where the trades come in. We won't be able to determine. So if we think that's kind of how we'll leave it up to you as well. If we do it like how we think it will happen, then we can't really guess the trades, and that's fine. We don't have to do that. What do you think?
I think we should do it based off of like if we were the GMs in those seats.
Okay.
So
perfect.
So you're next with the Commanders on the clock.
I'm gonna pick somebody that I think he's been overlooked a lot lately. I know his name is right there in front of us on the screen. I'm taking Drake May for Washington. Drake May was actually somebody that before I really gave myself the how would you say before I truly bought into Caleb, because I, like everybody else, like throughout, September, October, November was kind of like, well, on one hand you were like, well, let's see if Fields finally breaks out, and then the other hand, I was like, well, like, I don't know about Caleb yet. And because again, I hadn't really looked deeper into him, but I was really liking Drake May, and I still really do. I just, kind of have, I guess it's probably the biasy kicking in it now. I probably just have grown more fond of Caleb Williams. But Drake May, I think, is a fantastic prospect. He's a guy that he has a really high big time throw rate. He has a really low turnover worthy play rate. Drake's biggest issue, I think, right now is mechanical issues. And that's not something he might want to be. I think Marcus Mariota is the backup right now in Washington, or he's the stand-in starter, I think.
Yeah, he wears number 0 for them.
That's right. Drake May is actually somebody that I would say that might even benefit from sitting a little bit. But going to Washington, I don't think he will. But I think, like when you think of guys like Josh Allen, Jordan Love, those are guys that it took a little bit of time. Like it didn't look crisp early on, but I think that Drake May is going to be a really good starting quarterback in the NFL someday.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot of what this is too, is I don't believe in the hype that Jaden Daniels is getting. I think he's getting way overhyped, but I also kind of wonder, is that Washington doing that because they're trying to get, I don't know, like they're trying to get people to forget about Drake May or something like that, or are other teams doing that so Drake May falls down the board to them? But if I'm Washington, I go with him.
Yeah, I'm bigger on Jaden Daniels personally. And the reason why is I think May kind of, I'm not going to say he's a bad prospect by any means. I mean, he's going to go in the first round and he has all the measurables to be a first round quarterback. The thing that I'm a little worried about is what I like to see from quarterbacks are the guys that make plays routinely, outside the numbers. Because to me, those are the more, I think, difficult throws to make.
Now, I would say that the throws in the middle of the field are the most difficult, and I think that's what Jaden Daniels doesn't do well.
No, well, and the reason I say those, I think, in terms of playing with anticipation and timing, like I think a lot of his throws over the middle tended to be wide open against ACC defenses.
Yeah,
like I don't think he's getting those throws.
No, he won't. No,
in
certainly
the NFL.
not.
And I agree with you. Typically in the NFL, they're more difficult to make. I don't think in college football, like Caleb Williams isn't a guy like if you look at his throw chart, they're everywhere.
It's pretty even. Caleb's not a great guy to determine he's fantastic at throwing deep, or he's just like kind of the same, just all around.
Well, it's like in baseball, I like to have the Tony Gwynn type player that can pepper left field.
Yes, exactly.
He can pull. He's not a one-dimensional.
He's not pulling the ball down the line all the time.
And my take isn't that Drake May can't do it. It's in North Carolina's offense, the way they had it set up. I just like when I watched his tape, like that's all I saw. It was kind of the same thing over and over. Like every big throw he made was over the middle of the field. And I think that's wonderful, but that's really difficult to replicate at the pro level. And
it's going to be hard going to Washington. That's for sure. Because
yeah. However, though, I don't necessarily, I'm not going to say that he's totally a bust, that it's guaranteed. Number one, like we don't know how these guys are going to utilize. Like this take sounds very similar to the things we said about Justin Herbert coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went out in the NFL and he crushed it. So I'm not saying Drake May's a bust or like I would never select him. It's just the main concern I had about him.
Your preference is not him.
My preference is not him, just because I think the thing that I noticed, it doesn't translate as much, which is funny because most people would think the undersized guy that doesn't necessarily throw it as much over the middle of the field as the guy that doesn't translate to the next level. And that's where we'll disagree on that. But And the funny thing about this is I don't think the Commanders go Drake May. I think they actually end up going Jaden Daniels.
I think they do too. I just don't agree
Yeah.
with it.
So, like I said, I don't necessarily dislike Drake May, but I do have concerns about his ability to throw outside the numbers, and with those timing and anticipation throws.
Yeah.
He's like the opposite of guys like Jordan Love is the opposite guy. Like I felt like he doesn't play well throwing over the middle of the field, but he kills it outside the numbers.
Mhm.
I want, and ideally you'd like a guy to be able to pepper everywhere. Like Joe Burrow is that kind of player.
Yes.
Caleb Williams is that type of player. And that's why Drake May is not necessarily a slam dunk quarterback to me. But if you look at all the measurables, his ability to run, his arm strength is awesome. The accuracy and the size is awesome. The accuracy can probably improve a little bit. And you mentioned a lot of that's mechanical. And I don't want to get on the mechanics because half that crap is going to be completely fixed by
exactly. And not even just NFL coaching, the guys that the team hires. Here's Bob Smith. You're going to go meet him on Monday, and he's going to take you to a park in Virginia, and you guys are going to work on it together because we can't work with you right now.
So,
all right. So your first pick now, right?
Yeah, my first pick is up, and so the banner down here.
So hold on. So you're the New England Patriots. I'll wait for you to take that down.
Yeah, we're practicing for draft night. That's really the main point of this evening.
Let's just check. Hold on, because it's
streaming.
I know. I just want to see how many.
I have it up on my laptop.
No one's watching.
Granted, one person's watching. I am, but
to me.
But granted, I didn't advertise it or anything.
No, that's right. Yeah,
but
someone's gonna laugh at that part. So anyway,
but anyway,
So New England is on the board.
I would like to look at my trade options first.
Okay. All right. So you got.
The main conversation around the Patriots is that everybody's telling them that they should trade down, because they're in a massive rebuild.
Oh, look at these some quarterback hungry teams here.
The Chargers aren't quarterback hungry.
No, these two. I mean, the Giants and the Vikings. Can you see that?
Where are they? No, I can't. You got to scroll down a little bit.
Oh, you know what? It's probably because the screen is getting.
Yeah.
Oh, here. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Now can you see?
You got to look at. I see the 49ers.
Oh, that's as high as you can see.
Yeah, you got to scroll down.
No, this is as far as it goes.
Can you scroll up?
This is.
That's not optimal.
Yeah, look, this is the room I have.
Where's your mouse?
Right here.
No, okay, so take your mouse, go to the right. Go to the right.
Yes.
You see that little bar right there?
Oh, wait, this one?
Yes. What is that?
Oh, well, here, you know what? This is what I'll do. So here's the Chargers. I'll click on each of the teams that are interested.
Yeah,
here's the Chargers.
Just do that. Yeah.
Here's the Giants.
Okay, let's see what the Giants. So they are offering number 6.
You can get 6, 3. Your owner will veto it. You can throw in 47. Is next year's? Oh no, next year's.
No, I'm staying. I'm staying.
Okay.
Yeah,
you wanted a first round pick next year.
Yeah,
okay.
That's really the only reason to trade down if you're the Patriots is if you can pick up a number 1. And the thing is, like everybody's saying that, but and the reason I brought that scenario up is for one reason. That's not going to happen because you're sitting here with an opportunity to draft a top end quarterback.
Yeah.
How many times are you actually going to be landing on the number 3 pick?
You think Shedeur Sanders is going to be your savior next year?
And people are overthinking it now. Most people overthink it with Drake May because Drake May's been kind of the consensus number 3 guy. You took him number 2. But I'm going to go with the Heisman Trophy winner, Jayden Daniels. He's going to be the third pick, if you can add that to the PFF thing.
Yes.
So Jayden Daniels is you're going to hate me. You're going to hate me for saying saying this. He was the best quarterback in college football last year. Better than Caleb.
Statistically, yeah, for sure.
I mean, I watched him play too. Now, the thing that makes him not as good of a prospect, because he put up seasons that were every bit as good of what Caleb Williams did in 2022. What hurts him are two things. Number one, his size. He is a very undersized player. That's probably an outdated listing. There's no way that guy is more than 200 pounds. That's what he was listed at LSU. I bet he's more like 6'3", 195, which is really small for a quarterback. You don't really love to see guys
it's way too skinny.
So you question his durability. Can he stay healthy? And the other thing that really, this is more of an analytical approach to quarterback evaluation, is his late blossom, or his his late breakout. His old. Typically, you like to see guys come in at like 19, 20 years old, like Caleb Williams did, and just dominate from the start. Very rare that you get that. Like Caleb Williams is one of the better prospects we've seen. So that goes against Jayden Daniels, because he was at Arizona State, and he's an older prospect. I think he's like in his 5th year, or coming out of his 5th year of college.
Yeah.
So he's an older prospect. But what stands out to me and why he should still go in the top 3, third lowest turnover worthy play percentage in college football last year. But he had the highest big time throw percentage in college football. So basically, he understood how to take care of the ball and get it in the hands of his playmakers. And the other dismissal you'll get from a lot of people are like, well, he had Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., who were both going in the first round. I don't care about that. I think this guy has all the ability in the world to make every throw in the league. He is very mobile. I mean, if we're really looking for a Kyler comp, like there might be 2 Kyler Murrays in this class with Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels. And I'd argue that Jayden Daniels is every bit the talent that Caleb Williams is, but I wouldn't say he's every bit the prospect, because I mean, Caleb Williams has the size, and that's what Jayden Daniels doesn't have. So that's why he's number 3 and Caleb is. I would still take Caleb number 1. Don't get me wrong, but I am really a big Jayden Daniels fan. I think he's the second best quarterback in this draft.
Yeah, and well, I guess I'll give my things that I'm worried about with Jayden Daniels. I do think he throws an incredible ball. But one of the things that I think we learned with, say, Justin Fields, is that a quarterback can make every throw on an NFL field, but will he make every throw is one of the things. And so, like we were saying earlier, Jayden Daniels attacking the middle of the field. Now, I know this year he was very efficient attacking the middle of the field, but it's not so much efficiency that has kind of correlated to success in the NFL. It's how often are you attempting it? And he hasn't done it, but kind of more the thing that kind of scares me the most about Jayden Daniels is his pressure to sack rate. He takes a sack 1 out of every 4 pressures. That was very high. Well, it's the highest of the top 5 or so prospects.
He's big play hunting.
Yeah, Joe Milton, I think, has like 33%, which is ridiculous.
But he's not very accurate. Yeah.
No, gosh, no. Did you see that one throw he had his pro day? It was like, like somebody was like, "Oh wow, what a throw!" And it was like somebody pull it up on your Twitter. It just was awful. He was like so slow in his drop back, his hit, like he had a hitch in his step, and then he launched it. He's got a great arm, but like God, he's not going to be a good quarterback.
No, but Jayden Daniels,
yeah. So Jayden Daniels. And another thing is when Jayden Daniels escaped. Now people talk about Drake May. People have thought like, oh, this is a great pocket passer. Drake May actually left a lot of clean pockets, but Jaden Daniels unfortunately left the most clean pockets.
Yeah.
And so that's something that, we're talking about his size being an issue. That's something he's going to have to learn how to win from the pocket. And he's going to have to learn about processing things earlier. And he's going to have to, his ability to not turn over the ball is wildly impressive for as many dropbacks. He's had like 1,800 dropbacks in college, but he's going to have to get a little bit more aggressive in the NFL, I think.
It's like, I think and what's weird is like he holds on to the ball too long, and I think he's a big play hunter in a lot of ways. But the other thing I think he'll have to adjust to is like, he's running for 1,000 yards a season.
Yeah,
in college football, that he's not going to be able to do that at his size in the NFL to stay healthy. So I think he's a very interesting player. But I like, you watch his, like, just looking at his tape and his analytical profile as a player. I mean, this guy's a slam dunk. I wouldn't say he's Caleb Williams slam dunk, but I think he's the second best quarterback in the draft. And then we'll debate on another guy here coming up to me with, with Drake May. I think it's more of a debate between QB3 and 4 between those two. But you are next on the clock here.
Oh my God, QB4?
Yeah.
He is falling down the draft board.
No, I'm saying,
no, I know who you're talking about, but you're saying Drake May could be. Woo.
Well, a lot of people have the guy I'm talking about.
I know, but I
get to him in a second.
But anyways,
not saying I think that, but I thought it before.
Arizona's up next. So they're an NFC team, so they're mine. Arizona is actually, they're kind of not far away from being good again. Now they do need a lot of help on offense.
Mm-hmm.
They were fairly competitive down the stretch last season. Like they had a great win in Philly that basically ruined Philly's season. I mean, it was already going down the tank, but they put the cherry on top. I just want to say to everybody, Kyler Murray is a good quarterback. It's okay. He is.
Say it with me. Kyler Murray is a good quarterback.
And his contract is going to become a lot more affordable as the years go on now. You already have him under lock. You might as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the amount there were these people, like there were these types of people out there that were legitimately saying, well, the Cardinals should just tank and then trade Kyler. But then the same people would say, the Bears got to keep Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Like, are we even talking? So the Cardinals, I agree with you. They're in great position here. They got to improve their explosive playmakers on offense. They lost Hollywood Brown to free agency, which will end up being probably like a 5th, 6th round comp pick, but they got to replace him with somebody more reliable.
So I'm looking at the teams that are interested. So I thought at this point we might get like the Vikings wanting to trade up, but the Vikings might find it easier to trade up at the Chargers. We'll see when you go back on the board. The Bears obviously are the team that wants to trade up. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears try to trade up for Marvin Harrison if he falls to 5, but I don't think he's going to fall to 5. I have Marvin Harrison Jr. going number 4 to the Cardinals. I think that's been written in stone for a while now. Of course, the draft complex season starts and, everybody starts throwing. Malik Neighbors is an incredible prospect, but people start throwing different names out there like, oh, well, this guy could fall here and maybe Marvin Harrison drops. Marvin Harrison Jr., from the point that the Cardinals were going to get the 4th pick, really, not even the 4th pick, from about the time the Cardinals were not going to get the 1st pick, Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be the pick for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I think I'm debating myself. I own the 4th pick in a rookie draft. For Dynasty football. And, looking at the teams in the league, it's looking like it's going to be the 3 quarterbacks. It's a super flex league. So I'm having this debate on who to take, Marvin Harrison or Neighbors. I really like Neighbors. I think he's a special type player. But Marvin Harrison's one of those guys. Like he reminds me so much of like a Larry Fitzgerald, where he's just so good at everything that you
Mhm.
ask for from a receiver. Like he's got size, he's got the ability to separate, he's got
Look at this
uh
one, taller Devontae Adams.
yeah, he's a great route runner. He just does everything well. So with that being said, I think I agree with you. I would also take Marvin Harrison Jr. at
He
uh
he has, just looking here, if anybody's watching, his yards per route run is 3.44. Anything over 2 is good. He's at 3.44. That
Yeah.
is incredible.
So we have 3 quarterbacks back to back to back picks. So this is the 2021 draft all over again. So congratulations.
Ironically, no trench players yet.
No.
Which is unusual for
Yes.
a draft. Is that going to change now, or
It could. I'm updating the ticker, so 1 second.
I'm looking at the teams and you're not getting anybody. Weirdly enough,
So give me
from the Colts are the closest team that want to trade up, and they're at 15.
no Vikings.
No Vikings yet, ironically. Now we could force a trade, like we could, but if the computer won't allow it as much, then
just I want to see what I want to call the Vikings.
okay. Okay, hold on. How do I do this again? Where are the Vikings? Okay, so
I want to trade pick 5 for pick 11. I want the 22nd
it says
pick.
they are not interested. They are very adamant.
What about next year's first instead of 23?
Yeah, maybe we'll try that. Man, they're not. But wow, they don't have a lot of capital next year.
Okay, so
this is the card. Oh, wait a second. Oh no, I'm right. I was looking at the wrong thing. Yeah. All right. So maybe the Vikings wanted May or Daniels. Although I kind of thought they'd be in the hunt for. I mean, I'm fine with them not getting the guy that I think we're both afraid of them getting right now.
But I'm going to make so many people mad with this pick. Championship teams are won on the line of scrimmage.
Absolutely.
And everybody's looking. This team just lost Keenan Allen, a 31-year-old Keenan Allen, by the way.
And Mike Williams and Gerald Everett.
A Mike Williams that never stayed healthy. A Gerald Everett that, I mean, is it that big of a loss?
He's taking over for Rob Tonyan.
Oh yeah, Gerald Everett's on the Bears. Bears. Y'all basically the Chargers offense. It's worked so well. So anyway, I'm talking shit about the Bears. So anyway, championship teams are one on the line of scrimmage. Jim Harbaugh knows how to do this. And he's not going to fool around taking Brock Bowers or Malik Neighbors here because you can find receivers later in the draft. First option I wanted to draft, or I wanted to trade down, but since I can't, I'm taking the best offensive lineman in the draft. I'm taking Joe Alt from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
He is a size specimen, 6'8", 322. He's literally like the perfect build for what you want in a top 5 pick.
He's a real goober there.
Yes. Well, he's Notre Dame. They're all good.
Yeah.
I mean, you want pedigree, played at Notre Dame, 2-time All-American. What intrigues me about him, and I love this, is he played tight end in high school. So that shows to me that he had some movement ability. And then I look at that 9.91 RAS, or the relative athletic score. Notre Dame tends to produce good linemen at the NFL level anyway. I think if you're Jim Harbaugh and you're trying to establish a team, a new identity, you got to go with this. And I'm also not like, I liked Quentin Johnston last year and he looks like a bust, but I wouldn't necessarily just give up on him not being able to contribute at all. And like I said,
his role is not going to be the role of a Keenan Allen anymore.
No,
because
well, this offense isn't going to do what they did.
The offense is going to be different. Yeah.
The only other player I considered here that wasn't Joe Alt was Brock Bowers, just because he brings the versatility. Like, he catches passes and can, like, this team's going to play more 12 personnel anyway, so they don't necessarily need 7 receivers on the roster like they did under Kellen Moore when they were trying to play a video game. Like, this pick is about establishing the line of scrimmage. They're going to run the ball a lot more. That's why I'm going Joe Alt here at number 5. So let's keep it moving here. So I picked Alt.
So now the Giants are up. The Jets are interested in moving up. Why would the Jets? Oh, I think the Giants. Well, let's see here. You know what? I'm gonna make a trade here. So we should kind of keep track of these trades so that when we go back next week and we do
You'll have to go. You just go back and watch the
that's what we'll do, so that we can like fix it up. So I'm gonna have the Jets paying a premium to come up. The Jets are gonna come grab a wide receiver.
Neighbors.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. Perfect.
Neighbors or Bowers? I'm trying to decide what I want to do here. Do I want Neighbors or Bowers if I'm the Jets?
The Jets, I'm going to have them trade the 10th pick, the 72nd pick this year, and a second rounder next year. Of course, they don't have a second rounder this year because
I will say, though, that if I'm the Jets, I say no to this trade.
You think okay? So
I don't think, but I think Joe Douglas would say yes because he's desperate. So we're gonna do the trade because Joe Douglas won't have a job next year anyway.
Yeah, true.
Because it's all about this year for him and Saleh. So we're still doing it. The question will be, what player are we taking? Are we taking Neighbors? Or are we taking Bowers? I'm going to go with Bowers here.
Okay.
Because I think he brings a little bit more versatility, and I think they have to figure out a way to be more multiple in their looks offensively for the Jets.
Yes.
I think they get so stagnant sometimes in New York with the way they are. And I think as Rodgers is getting older, I think he does need a little bit of a player over the middle of the field. The thing that is so special about Brock Bowers, though, is that yards per route run. I mean, when you're
people look out for a tight end,
when you have a 2.6, that's wild for a wide receiver. Like, I mean, 2.65 is a lot. Most elite guys don't go over
2.2. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking like the high end players are where he's at, and he's doing this as a tight end. He's one of the best yak tight ends in the history of college football, 2-time Mackey Award. And there's a podcaster, Evan Silva, who always talks about like the mother effing Mackey Award winner is the joke. And that is one of the stickiest awards, by the way. If you win the Mackey Award, you're going to play well in the NFL. And I think this is just kind of a seamless pick, and it fills a position of need, I think, for the Jets. And I think the other thing too with Neighbors is I think like him and Garrett Wilson have such similar skill sets in a lot of ways, in terms of their size. He's a little bit more of a yak guy, but to me, I think this makes more sense and it brings more versatility. But yeah, it was between. I think they might do something like that. And since I'm Joe Douglas, I'm desperate, so I have to make a big splash before I go out.
And especially if you're trading with your roommate, you got to be a little bit more willing to foot the bill on this one. So I think that's
a New York trade.
Yes, it is. It would. Hey, Rodgers gets his first. Does this count? First round receiving threat?
Yeah, and it's not a wide receiver; it's a tight end.
it's a tight end.
Yeah. So
all right. Next? So the Titans. So you're back on the clock.
Ooh. Okay.
Now the Titans are probably the most pissed off at you that you drafted Joe Alt, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because
So I think,
they need offensive line help desperately.
They need offensive line help. But the beautiful thing of what they've done here is they have really filled a lot of needs.
Yes, they have. They've had a nice little offseason.
I think they have filled a lot of needs as a team, so where they're not desperate, because a lot of people, I think, like a couple of months ago, they're like, "Oh, you got to take a receiver. You got to take a receiver here," because Treylon Burks has not worked out, but they did sign Calvin Ridley in free agency. They did. They did sign.
They got Nuke last year. They got Tony Pollard as their running back this year.
They've really addressed the skill position already. However, still taking Malik Neighbors here. I mean, this guy because number one, like we mentioned, Calvin Ridley, he's like 28 years old. Nuke Hopkins, he could literally fall off at any time at his age. He's like 31, 32 years old. Neighbors, you talk like the thing I'm hearing around Tennessee is they are all in on Will Levis. It got to, and I'm convinced, I don't know if this is true, but like this is just the way I read the situation, is I think that's what got Vrabel fired. I don't think Vrabel liked Will Levis in the draft. I don't think he wanted to stick with him, and the organization did. So they're going to do everything in their power to make Will Levis successful. Yeah. You obviously mentioned you'd love to have Joe Alt, but he's not available. The Chargers took him. So I'm going the best player available. If they were in this situation, they should do this, because Malik Neighbors, I would say he might be, like, I would not be shocked in 5 years who's the best player in this draft. It's this guy. He is absolutely outstanding. He has some of the most electric tape of any player in the draft. He is explosive. He had the highest PFF receiving grade in 2023. He can line up anywhere on the field. He's a chess piece, just like Brock Bowers is, just like Marvin Harrison is. But what he brings to the table that I don't necessarily think those guys do is he can make the contested catches where Brock Bowers didn't necessarily do that consistently. And he has the yak ability that Marvin Harrison doesn't necessarily have.
Yeah.
And he did it in the best conference in college football in the SEC. So I think this is an easy pick. If I'm the Titans, I'm going Malik Neighbors, even though on paper, and everybody they'd be pissed off about this, but because you already have Hopkins, you already have Ridley, I'm adding another. Give me Malik Neighbors here for the Titans.
Help out your young quarterback. If this regime believes in him, then do whatever it takes to make his life easier.
Yeah. So who's next?
So now the Falcons are up.
So it's your turn.
Yeah, now my turn. I think I'll keep it with me, but I do find it interesting. The team that is interested the most right now, or the team that's closest, is the Raiders. And the Raiders, of course, need a quarterback. The Vikings, for whatever reason, I think the phone lines have broken down up in Minnesota.
Why aren't this is working out beautifully for them, by the way.
It is. Yeah, oh, true.
But you know who should be calling right now? Denver. I'm Denver's GM. Get me on the phone. One second. Hey, what's up?
Hey, my screen just totally went black. I don't know what the heck happened.
We lost Neil for a second. He'll be right back. This is why we test these things.
Yeah, that's weird.
I still got you live.
All right, well, I'm very sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, you are right. This is working out beautifully for the Vikings. Although the Giants, as you said, I think that's what you were about to say before I lost.
Yeah. Are you back in the chat? Or are you back in the room?
No, it's right now. It's saying Google Chrome is not responding.
Are you on?
And usually you're the one with the bad internet, but tonight I don't even know if this is bad internet or is this just bad luck.
Is your try your internet some other way? Like try Googling something.
I'm trying. No, it's totally on. Let's see. All right, hold on. All right, now it's shutting down for me.
Your whole laptop shut down?
Yeah.
Okay.
We might have lost our position in the draft.
Awesome.
This is why we do these things, everybody.
Yeah.
It's a shame that I couldn't invite you to the Pro Football Focus, and I'm restarting it now. And you could still maneuver around with the picks.
Yeah.
All right. Signing back in.
Sorry, everybody. This is a little hiccup on our end, but we'll get started here in a second. We have 0 viewers, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, we're speaking into the void right now.
Yeah. But I'm not going to discontinue the stream because if you can just jump back on, it doesn't really matter.
This is authentic.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I wonder what happened. It's not like my computer needed.
Did it disconnect you from the internet? Like, did it give you did you check your connection status on your laptop?
It's everything is full go.
Yeah,
bars.
I'm saying I'll talk to you after about it, but just click on the Facebook link that I sent you, and then you'll be back on.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
All right, reopening Google Chrome.
Is it working?
Slowly here. Wait a second. Restore pages. All right. Well, I should be coming back in here any second now.
Okay. Does your microphone and everything work too?
Yes. Still got the green light. Put my camera on. Unmute myself. And enter the studio.
All right.
Here we go.
Sorry about that. That was crazy. Anyway.
So let's
pull back up your the PFF.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
track.
I have to do that. So
we have Malik Neighbors at 7.
That's right. I'll have to. So these were the all. All right, and then entered, and it went start draft. We had Caleb off the board first. Just here, actually, it works as a good little recap. Look how long that's taken.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think next week you need to find a way to hardwire your internet to your laptop.
I think so. Or All right, and then I had Drake May. Okay, and then who was? Oh, then we had Jaden Daniels.
Yes. Who they are not high on at PFF.
They're not. Marvin Harrison,
Joe Alt,
Joe Alt.
Brock
then
Bowers,
we-
Malik.
No, we made the trade.
Oh God.
Ah,
Yeah.
shoot.
We can
And now
force
they're
the
not.
trade.
Now they're. Yeah, now we could force it.
It was the Giants and the Jets.
The Jets, they traded 10.72 and next year's second for this. We'll force it.
Yes.
Trade.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, I don't want to trade again. And then draft a player. It was
We did.
Bowers.
Yep, Brock Bowers, and then the Titans take Neighbors, and then we are on the clock with the
All right.
Falcons.
Now here we go.
Yeah.
So now the Falcons are on the clock. Now let's check the trades and look who's calling. It's the Giants. So now the Giants are the Vikings also. The Vikings are not.
I would like to call you on behalf of the Denver Broncos. This is where you froze.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So this is what you were. Okay.
I would
All
like
right.
to call, and then you, as the Vikings GM, are also going to be making a call.
Okay.
would
This
assume.
is fun. Yes.
Because this is where I think because now Sean
Exciting.
Payton's sitting there like, oh, okay, I can get my guy.
Yeah.
So-
What Terry Fontenot, he's got both lines open. He's got Minnesota here. He's got Denver there.
I want to offer the 12th overall pick.
Okay. 12th.
And I want to for number 8, of course. And then so I just want number 8 and next year's first.
Hold on. I'm gonna pull up the Fitzgerald Spielberger calculator. If anybody doesn't know, it's on Over the Cap. Oh wait, hold on. I gotta go to the trade value chart. I know. I wanted to go to the trade calculator. So we have the Broncos trading to the Falcons, or supposedly trading to the Falcons, and we're saying the 12th and what
Next year's first.
Okay, so
Let's see, is
right
that too
now
much?
it is it's about it's a pretty big premium. It's like a 50%, 150% premium. So that's
What if I asked for your third this year back?
okay. If you want the third back,
74.
now it's now the Falcons are saying that's too. What about 79? No thing. Get out of here, please. Let's try. Maybe the Falcons say one. Okay, here we go. If the Falcons say, all right, we'll give you back 109. Let's see what the Vikings. I wonder if we could.
Now you're the Vikings. Now what
No,
are
I'm
you
the
thinking?
Vikings. Okay.
There has to be a trade here
There's got to be a trade. Yes, because
because both of these teams see JJ McCarthy sitting there.
yes, I was gonna say if anybody
Yeah.
doesn't know who we're talking about, it's JJ McCarthy at this point. The Vikings. Ooh. So if the Vikings trade 11 and 23. Now, this is why the Vikings traded for the second draft pick, the second number 1 pick, right?
Yeah,
This is they did this in order to trade
to have the ammo.
to have the ammo. So I can't imagine that I can't imagine that they'd let this happen. I can't imagine that they'd let the Broncos do this.
I'm forcing your hand. I'm making you do it.
Yeah.
point.
Yes. Basically,
Denver's
yeah.
calling. And if I'm the Falcons, I would tell Minnesota Denver's on the phone.
Denver's on the phone right now, and Denver's offering us their first next year. And I'm not even telling the Broncos that I'm trading back a fourth.
Because you're trying to get the 2 number 1s this year.
Yeah.
trying to get your hands on those.
So I'm going to say, all right, so the Vikings are going to trade their 2 firsts this year, and then we're going to throw in a mid-round, a comp pick next year.
Okay.
And wow, the pick value gained would be the 8th overall pick.
So we have found breaking news. That's the trade partner for the Vikings.
This is
the
the trade.
Falcons.
It's
And
the Falcons.
ironically, Kirk Cousins' old team.
Yeah. So, of course, they don't have. All right. Well, we'll just trade. Oh, it's because it's a third. Like over the cap has it as a comp pick because it's it's not official yet, but over the cap is estimating it. I know it looks like we're trading the Vikings only 3rd round pick next year, but they will have another one. So this is just pretend this is their comp pick, everybody.
Yep.
And so, all right, so we're going to force this trade. And now the Vikings are on the clock, and the Vikings are coming up to draft national champion, LaGrange Park, Illinois resident or former resident, JJ McCarthy. JJ is a Minnesota Viking, and honestly, that's a scary thought for, I think, some NFC North teams. I know I'm biased as a Michigan fan, but you have even, like, I was telling you in September and October, like, I don't know if there's a quarterback playing better than JJ McCarthy in college football. And you texted me like around the middle of, this is not during college football. So it's not like you changed your opinion because he won a national, or, because he was playing in the national championship, or things got better over time. You changed your opinion because you were like, you started watching him and said, oh my God, JJ McCarthy's good.
Yeah, I mean, from my opinion on him, and we don't, we want to kind of get the pace up a little bit. So I think what stood out to me about him, though, is he is one of the best players in terms of EPA per play in college football last year.
Mm-hmm.
He was really, really good under pressure and money on 3rd downs.
Yeah.
So I think he has a lot of I wouldn't even say intangibles, because like in terms of a lot of metrics, JJ McCarthy actually kind of comes out pretty favorably. What he doesn't have is the volume stats, and like Drake May, Caleb Williams, Jade Daniels, they all played in offenses that were a little bit more friendly for putting up big stats. And JJ McCarthy didn't do that. But what I can say JJ McCarthy did from a football standpoint is he won, and he always was able to put together big drives when his team needed him. I think the one thing that you could probably say that he doesn't have is he's pretty average in terms of arm strength and athleticism. I do not think he's going to be the type of player that's going to throw guys open, and he's a tight window guy. But what I do think he is going to be is I think he's a guy that can play well within a system that can.
And what better system for a young quarterback?
I mean, he has a lot of qualities that Kirk Cousins has. He's just accurate. He runs the offense the way it needs to be. He's not overly athletic, and he doesn't have elite arm strength. I think he can kind of plug and play pretty quickly. I think Darnold would be the starter, but I think to start out
I'd
the
say
season,
by October.
JJ.
Yeah, that's exactly how and honestly, Darnold is a really good guy to have in this capacity, I think.
Yeah, the best looking hair in a quarterback room.
Truly. Yes, it is the best looking hair.
Yeah, 2 Johnny Bravos. So the next pick we have Chicago. Your team's back on the clock, so you're an NFC team. So you actually have the next 3 picks. So why don't you kind of speed it up for us and let us know your 3 picks here, unless you want to make another trade.
No, so I'm not. I'm not going to make any trade here. There's a guy up here that I really like. Now, the Bears do need help on their defensive line. I think really that's if I'm being truthfully honest, I know I might be a little, people probably say, oh, you're biased because you're a Bears fan. As Steven can tell you, I'm one of the most pessimistic Bears fans there ever was. It's hard to be optimistic as a Bears fan, but really the only other holes that this team, like glaring holes that this team has right now, are they need another edge rusher opposite Montez Sweat. And they probably need a dominating 3-tech. They have a 3-tech that came along pretty well as a rookie last year. Gervon Dexter played pretty well towards the end of the season. So some people might say, oh, is like Jershawn Newton a possibility? Is Latu Latu from UCLA? Is he an option? I think those guys are fine players. But again, this offseason is all about Caleb Williams, making things as good for him as possible. I know some people think, well, it would be good to upgrade the offensive line because the Bears' offensive line sucked. I truly do think, now they were very bad 2 years ago. Last year, I think they were a lot closer to the middle of the pack than the numbers would suggest. Braxton Jones at your left tackle, a lot of people don't know about him. He's coming along really well. He's actually kind of taken the Charles Leno career arc, a low round draft pick that's really done nothing but played since he was drafted. He does have some things to work on, but he's middle of the pack, which is really all you can ask for. And I think he was middle of the pack with a quarterback that took a lot of unnecessary sacks. Darnell Wright on the right side, I think he is a future star right tackle. And other than that, you're not taking, I don't think Fashanu, I'm not wild about him. I think the kid out of Oregon State is more of a guard than anything. And I don't think you're taking a guard at number 9. I'm taking Rome Odunze at number 9. Rome Odunze, I know he had really just like the one big year of production last year, but he really hits a lot of the metrics that I want. As you can see here, his yards per route run is 2.93. That's a ridiculous amount. And it's obviously, it pales in comparison to Marvin Harrison Jr., but I mean, that's an outlier.
Not that far off.
Yeah, he's not that far off either. I think that Rome Odunze too is a guy that eventually is going to take the place of Keenan Allen. Okay. And I think having him as a number 3 wide receiver is a really good position to put Caleb Williams in. If he does get drafted, I think we might see something similar though to what happened last year in Seattle when they drafted Jackson Smith-Njigba. It was the top receiver off the board, but he didn't play much. Shane Walton plays a lot of 12 personnel. I think he'll do the same thing this year. Odunze is going to get his snaps. He's going to get his targets, but I think this is going to be kind of like not a redshirt year. Cause like I said, he's going to get his time, but he's not going to be a focal point of the offense. And that's okay. That's good. I
mean, when Keenan Allen hurts his hamstring week 6, I mean, this is, I'm serious. Like that happens every season. So,
well, do you know what though? Like Keenan Allen, he had like a kidney laceration, and he had like, he's not like somebody broke it down before. Like his injury proneness is a little bit overblown. I think.
No, but he's gonna miss games.
He's going to miss a game or two at some point.
That's why I don't necessarily kill the pick here. I think my only thing, so you basically you're gonna be putting Keenan in the slot when Odunze is on the field, because Odunze he plays out wide. He's really his best feature in his game is his ability to make contested catches and to basically make plays deep down the field. It'll be interesting to kind of see the way that they use him and the way Caleb kind of targets him early, because I think he's actually a really good fit for Caleb Williams, even better than what they have with DJ Moore. I would not be surprised within 2 or 3 seasons where Rome Odunze would be the number 1 receiver in Chicago if they make this pick and supplant DJ Moore, who I think is a very good receiver, but I think Odunze has a lot of that downfield ability.
I love DJ Moore, and I hope he's here for a long time. But the way receivers are getting paid, you have to consider drafting wide receivers early, especially these 3 receivers this year. Because like DJ Moore, like the Bears are getting him at a bargain right now. They're paying him like $16 million a year.
The other thing to consider is the Bears don't have a ton of like for a team that has as much draft capital as they do. They actually don't have multiple round 2 picks. If they did, I would not draft a receiver this high. I would go to the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
But go ahead and take the premium player.
Exactly.
Number 9. So who is next here for us? The New York Giants.
So the Giants are on the board. They're kind of in a very rough spot because if they wanted JJ McCarthy, well, he's now gone.
One more year, Daniel Jones, it looks like.
Yeah, one more year, Daniel Jones for sure. Malik Neighbors would have been really good for Daniel Jones, but now
he traded back from that.
They traded back. I think their best bet is maybe to get somebody to help on the offensive line because they desperately need it. Fuage, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. Like I said, I think he's more of a tackle or a guard with like his measurables by NFL standards.
Is that who you're taking here?
Yeah, I think that's who the Giants will take.
Are you going to list him as a guard or a tackle?
I'm going to list him as a guard. Well, could we just say offensive lineman because he'll probably play where he's needed.
Yeah, I'm just listing it here now. And 1 second, I got to find him on the thing here. There we go. Here's his profile. So yeah, he played a lot. He basically played right tackle in college almost all of his career. But a lot of draft experts seem to think that he's going to play guard at the next level. Really a elite zone blocker. And I think any team running a zone scheme would really benefit from him. Plays with a lot of tenacity. I mean,
yeah.
Granted, if you watch a lot of O-line tape, like you're a sicko. But like
you just love pain.
You love the draft if you watch O-line highlight. But he does play nasty. And what really struck me is like there's a lot of talent. There was so much talent in the Pac-12 this year. Especially at O-line, like because there's a couple more players that we'll get to in a second. But I think Fuaga is a good pick, and they do have to figure out how to more consistently run the ball in New York. That was such a struggle watching Saquon Barkley last year. So many games he's just sitting around 2-3 yards a carry. They just had no ability to get good down and distances, and we can't. And like I don't want to sound like I'm defending Daniel Jones, but we have to figure out can we at least get him in like favorable down and distances?
Well, the one year that they did, they made it to the divisional round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think Daniel Jones is special, but I also don't think he's bad. But the way they have built their offense in the last 5 years has done him no favors. So I think that's a good pick by you. So the next, we're going to try to speed up a little bit here. So the Falcons are on the clock. And so are they going to take another skill player?
I don't think so. I don't think the Falcons will take another skill player. They definitely need some defensive line help. For whatever reason, Jershawn Newton's not really getting mocked to them a lot. He was going to be there at 8 when they were originally picking. He might not be a fit for them. They still have Grady Jarrett, who's still playing at a high level. I'm going to take the edge rusher out of UCLA, Laitu Latu, who is he is a dynamic edge rusher. He has a massive issue though with having that neck fusion surgery. He literally already retired, and he came back. But you know what? Also at the same time,
is that the same injury that Van Der Esch just retired from?
I think so. Yeah. It's so
you never like seeing neck injuries.
At the same time, the Falcons do now have 2 first-round picks. So maybe, one of these they can gamble on a little bit more. They've had a really good offseason in terms of building up their offense, obviously signing Kirk Cousins and then getting Rondale Moore, and Darnell Mooney. They're going to have a pretty good offense. They actually are going to probably have a fairly easy walk to the playoffs because they have the third highest odds in the NFC to make the playoffs because of their division. Of course, I don't think they're that good, but I think getting Laitu Latu on the defensive side of the ball is going to help.
What's funny too about the Falcons is like so much is made about their offense because you draft Kyle Pitts in 21, you draft Drake London in 22, you got Bijan last year in the first round. Obviously, that's a star-studded supporting cast. So much stardom coming out of the college ranks for all three of those guys. Like Bijan was an All-American. Drake London was one of the better receiver prospects we've seen in the last couple of years, and Pitts was like this generational tight end. But the strength of this team is the defense, and they're adding to it here. I like their defense was actually really impressive last year. They made a lot of strides with Raheem Morris, or not Raheem Morris. Who was their DC? I can't remember who their DC was last year, but they made a lot of strides, and they have a lot of personnel. Jesse Bates was a great addition for them, and I think Raheem Morris, that defensive-minded coach, they're going to come in and perform really well. And this is just another addition. Latu was basically the best pass rusher in college football last year, and the numbers show it. That win rate that he had, that 26.2% pass rush win rate, was first in the NCAA. He's not necessarily an amazing athlete, and that's the only thing that scares me about him is like he doesn't necessarily possess like elite traits for an edge rusher. And I'm the guy like and this might just be the Packers fan in me because like that's the way they draft edge rushers. Like the first thing I look at is I want like a size speed freak at the edge that you can teach. And like we've talked about Julius Peppers in the past. We've talked about other players. That ain't him. Like he's gonna win by being fundamentally sound. Like he's got multiple moves. He wins at the point of attack a lot, and he's just a more technical player, and he knows how to get after the quarterback. But that neck fusion shirt, that's the only thing that scares me. It's like because this could be a guy that's out of the league in like 2 years because of injury, and that is really scary to use the 11th overall pick on for a guy that. He could be a great football player, but if he's never on the field, that's a problem.
Absolutely.
So it's a boomer bust pick if I've ever seen one. Because if he plays, he's probably going to be a Pro Bowler.
Yes.
With how good he was at UCLA. So next on the clock, is it finally my turn to pick?
It is. Can I call you?
Okay, so I'm the Broncos. I'm really upset with how this went.
Yeah.
I do not like really what's happened because I don't have a quarterback. Jarrett Stidham is my only guy. It's probably a little early to take Penix, and he has his own injury issues, and I don't want to use the 12th pick on Michael Penix personally. So, yes, I am probably looking to trade down if I can, but it depends on the offer.
Now, this is a big trade down. Now, I haven't shown who's interested. And I thought this is quite a big trade up. And what could they trade in relation to get all the way up here? Look who wants to move up.
The 49ers.
The 49ers want to move up. Now,
okay, so we're already got to start next year's first for sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Or
which is going to be late.
What do you think about Brandon Ayuk?
Oh. Okay, so I want 31.
Let's see what Brandon Ayuk does here to this.
Okay.
Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, and maybe the 49ers won't accept it.
The 49ers are saying no.
Yeah, 49ers are saying no. So, okay, so but if you're the Broncos, you probably want Brandon Ayuk if the 49ers are.
Instead of 31, do number 12 for Brandon Ayuk. And then 63.
Okay.
Go up. 63.94.
No, they won't trade Brandon Ayuk.
Okay. Well, so Brandon Ayuk's not on. So,
okay, but if you're the Broncos, that's like the reason why you.
We can force the trade.
We could force a trade.
I want Brandon Ayuk
Okay.
and pick 31.
And pick 31. All right.
I think that's actually a pretty fair deal because the 31 is really an early second.
Yes.
So I'm making that trade, and it gets me an extra first. And the thing is, I just gained an asset that I can build my offense around.
Yep.
I wasn't going to get a receiver that good at number 12. And the fact is, I just picked up 31. And the Broncos are one of the most strapped teams for draft capital because they're still basically paying for Russell Wilson in terms of like they're in a rebuild. So I do like that move for me if I'm the Broncos. So you are now on the clock for the 49ers. Now, who are you going to take here? What's worth moving up here for you?
So I feel like, especially with losing Eric Armstead this year, I feel like Byron Murphy is a 49ers pick. Byron Murphy,
is kind of a twitchy gap player.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me. I know he went to Texas and he played defensive line. He kind of reminds me of Henry Melton, who used to play for the. Now Henry Melton didn't have a long career, but look at the versatility of Byron Murphy. Like he's a 3-tech player, but he's played 1-tech before. He can play really anywhere inside the tackles on the defensive line. This is a player that the 49ers would have only dreamed of getting, I think. They still need, a corner. They need some help in the interior too on the offensive line. But I think more than anything, I think a guy like Byron Murphy would really be great for them.
Okay.
And now they have a wide receiver need, I suppose, maybe.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that it'll be interesting to kind of see is like I think he's under 300 pounds, and that always scares you a little bit. But the way the NFL is kind of going is you're looking for guys that kind of shoot the gap really well. And he's going to play in an even front. That's kind of a perfect fit for what San Francisco does.
Yeah.
So I think that's a solid pick. But it would be funny if he ended up as another Solomon Thomas for Gardner. So,
that would be hilarious.
Yeah,
he wouldn't be able to do that anymore.
The difference, though, is he traded up for Solomon Thomas, or traded down from Solomon Thomas when he traded up here for Byron
That's
Murphy.
True. Yeah. Who did he trade down with? I can't remember anymore.
Yeah, it was that was a lose-lose trade if you've ever seen one.
Remember, Neil, you drafted Trubisky?
Yeah. So I'm next with the Raiders.
Yes.
So my needs are, I basically need everything.
Anything, yeah.
This team,
that's literally the entire team.
Now the thing is, they're talking about the Raiders here. So I
think I know who you're thinking of. Yeah. Is it Quinyon Mitchell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it. I mean, he's a lightning bolt.
Yeah, he's one of the fastest players. They've been talking what is it? Antonio Pierce has been talking about the Raider way. Let me pull up his profile here if I can find it. There it is. But he is really he is one of the better man-to-man cover corners in the draft. No doubt. He's a really special player. His 2022 season is what really stands out the most, though. 27 receptions on 70 targets is really awesome. He had 5 picks, so he not only is a shutdown corner regarding coverage, but he's also a guy that can make plays on the ball, and that's really hard to find.
Yeah.
So I'm taking Quinyon Mitchell, beef up my secondary. The Raiders aren't in a great spot. It's kind of it's a team in transition. They're a lot like the Broncos, where they just need a lot of things, but they're not. They see this, they're going to take Quinyon Mitchell and he just feels like a Raider. He just, he's a lightning bolt, and they love drafting these kind of players early in the draft. So I'm going to take Quinyon Mitchell here at number 13 overall.
All right, so that leaves me on the board now. I feel like I've been picking a lot, which means you're going to pick a lot then soon.
Yes.
Um,
We'll go a little
Jershawn
faster too as we go.
Yeah. Jershawn Newton is still available. Let's see if is he somebody that could he fit what the Saints need at 3 tech? I wonder check their depth chart real quick. Of course, they're still hanging on to Cam Jordan. He's kind of hanging, so that they could probably use an edge, but they did get Chase Young. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to draft Jershawn Newton. Not a sexy pick for the Saints, but also a team that can't afford to be sexy anymore.
He kind of looks like Cam Jordan.
Oh my God, he does, yeah.
Yeah,
like a young Cam Jordan, yeah.
And what's interesting is like he's a defensive tackle, but he's actually almost the size, like in terms of size, he's very similar to because Cam Jordan's like 290. And he is the one thing about his profile that's so good, and you can pull it up here in a second, like for his PFF stuff. But what's so cool about his game is like he just shoots up gaps.
Yes.
He's not Aaron Donald. Like, so when you watch Aaron Donald at Pitt, like I remember watching his draft tape, and like that was special watching him at Pitt. I didn't think he'd be what he became, which was like a first ballot Hall of Famer. That was nuts. But like this guy is like kind of a lesser version of that, which is still a first round talent. He is just a really, really explosive pass rusher, but also like pretty good in the run. I thought I think the thing about defensive players is like how you make impact plays is you create negative plays for offenses. And that's what Jershawn Newton does and what he did for Illinois. I think this is a solid pick. It's just not sexy. And you don't feel like, if you're a fan of this, if you're a fan of the Saints, you're not walking away here. But they're going to have a pretty nasty front if they added this.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that he might not show up on the stat sheet, but you're gonna like look back 8 or 9 years from now and be like, damn, he's still playing he's still playing at a pretty good level for the Saints. Like he's just gonna be, I think, a stalwart player for the Saints. I think that's kind of what they need. They need to start drafting well again. They drafted really well in 2017, and they're still trying to live off that. And it's about time that they start doing it again.
Yeah. So I'm go to who's next? The Colts. So I'm on the clock.
Yeah.
So what are my team needs? Like
wide receiver and DB. Let's see what wide receivers.
I just signed. I just signed Michael Pittman to an extension, right?
Yeah, you have Brian Thomas Jr. and Adonai Mitchell are the next two known receivers. You do need a DB, and I know you're probably saving him for somebody else.
No, I'm going to take Cooper DeJean.
Okay. Because I wasn't going to pick him.
I'm going to have a hot take here. He's I think he's the best defensive player in the draft. And the reason I say that is because in terms of his versatility, he can line up and I listed him here. He could play corner. He could play safety. He can play slot corner. He's basically a chess piece. And what people don't understand about football a lot of the times is like, I think so many times people look at football like they look at fantasy, where you put a player in that position and then they score points for that position. Real football is not like that. What Cooper DeJean is, and it reminded me so much of Charles Woodson. I'm not saying he's going to do that because Charles Woodson's one of the great secondary players ever. But what this guy is, he makes plays on the ball. He has ability on special teams. What he does is you can build a defense around him because in next year's draft, let's say the Colts find a corner they love. Well, that's not stopping them from drafting the kid
Yeah.
because they can put
They can
DeJean.
bump Cooper to safety.
Yeah, they can bump him to safety or have him play inside and just completely dominate there. And it makes your entire it lifts your team up better. He's a chess piece. And honestly, like I thought about taking him for the Raiders too. I'll give a hot take right now. I just like the more I think about this, I don't think he's going to go this low. I think he's going to go higher.
Yeah, I could see somebody like yourselves possibly.
He ain't going to the Packers. We're not getting him. Like I've already given up on that.
You don't even think you would trade up for him?
I don't think we have the ammo. And the other thing is we have offensive line issues. I think the dream is over for
there's something just right about, you think of like the Colts in Iowa, you think of Dallas Clark, there's something about like a white guy, a 6'1" white guy making big plays for the Colts.
Yeah. One of the most
for so many years.
One of the most impressive things that he did, I'm putting his PFF profile up here. One of the most impressive things that he did in college, though, was his ability to return kicks and punts.
Oh God, he was unbelievable.
And that's a very underrated part of the draft evaluation, is because, like, especially at Iowa, like that's how they scored. Like is field position. Like he won them games. Like, and he should have won them the Minnesota game. They got
they got screwed in that game. Yeah.
He is an absolute monster at making plays on special teams. But what stood out, go back to that graphic real quick. So one of the things that really stood out to me was his run defense. So you don't see a lot of willing tacklers, a lot of willing run
defensive backs.
Yeah, from defensive backs. And that's an underrated thing. Like I said, he's a chess piece. You could probably honestly in sub package looks like he could even play linebacker on some plays. Not saying that's going to be a normal thing, but like that's
like in a dime look or like a nickel look or something.
You could line him up anywhere, and then that having a player like this ensures you're always going to have the best 11 players on your field. On defense. That's why you want versatility, guys. And that's why NFL scouts love players like that. And that, we laugh, but we always laugh at what's his face. Who's the tackle that played Jamarcus Webb?
Jamarcus Webb, yeah.
But I think didn't he play some guard too? And I think
a little bit, yeah.
But you see, like guys that everybody makes fun of them for being like turnstiles. When they play left tackle that one time or whatever. But your ability to play around the O-line is what keeps guys playing in the league for 8, 9, 10 years, even though they don't rate high on PFF. But when you're looking at 53-man rosters and you're looking down at cut downs, if you have a guy that can play 4 positions, 5 positions, it's a big luxury. And a guy like Cooper DeJean that can play these positions and play them well, that's worth the 15th pick in the draft.
The Seahawks are next. We'll be halfway through with the draft with this. So hope everybody's ready for the next hour and a half.
We're gonna speed it up a lot here.
Yeah, we're so I'm gonna draft Dallas. I'm sure some people probably saw me. Such a
Seahawks pick too.
It is a very Seahawks pick. They're another team, as you guys can see there. They have a lot of needs. They're going to be a team that's in transition now. Mike McDonald, new head coach. John Schneider really finally gets to be his own GM for once. It's not Pete Carroll anymore, who was like the de facto GM, basically, even though Schneider had the title of it. But I think now is the time that you have. Is it offensive tackle?
Oh, did I really?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, whatever.
Well, and I even wrote how he had pass rusher, and then I wrote offensive tackle.
Yeah, he rushes his own quarterback.
He's that good.
He just turns around. No, I think this is a guy that Seattle probably gets. Again, they're not really in a position. I mean, I think they're still going to have a pretty decent offense. I know they don't really believe in Geno Smith for whatever reason. I think he's a very serviceable quarterback, but we'll see how he plays without Shane Waldron. But I think their defense desperately was awful last year. I mean, they were a bottom 3 defense. They need a guy like Dallas Turner.
Yeah, what intrigues me about Turner is that he was a 3-year contributor in college, just consistent. He just it's just an Alabama, not an offensive tackle, but an edge rusher.
Mm-hmm.
So just a steady Eddie. I think I don't know. I don't necessarily see I don't see TJ Watt or that type of elite production, but I think you could do worse. From an edge rusher in the first round. It's just Alabama producing another, defensive player in the first round. What do you know?
Yeah.
So who's next on the clock? Is it
the Jaguars? Yeah.
Okay, I gotta see. What's a Jaguars?
You have a couple. Pick? You have 3 of the next, or 4 of the next 5 picks are yours.
So the last thing the Jags need to do is spend more capital on wide receiver because they spent so much money. So they have an interior offensive line issue. Bad.
Yes.
And Jags fans would hate this pick, but this is a good pick. Taking Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon.
That's what I was thinking. He's a nasty, nasty guy. I love him.
He just looks like the kid that he just looks like a kid that's really good at pushing around people.
Yeah.
Like stocky.
I mean, look at his profile here on PFF.
He looks like a kid. Like when I watch him play, it looks like he did some wrestling at not professional wrestling, but wrestle.
Like he's an Iowa boy or something like that.
Yeah, but he played all snaps at center, but he's played guard at this level too. The reason why I went this pick though is number one, the Jags need help at the interior line, badly, and they've struggled for as long as I can remember on the interior offensive line. But the main thing though is I would pick Jackson Powers Johnson because I want Trevor Lawrence to succeed and I got to keep him upright. Yeah. And that didn't happen at the end of last year. So I got to prioritize keeping him healthy. And that's why, and the fact that he can play guard or center gives me a little flexibility. I probably lean towards center if I had a choice, but I think this is the no-brainer pick, and it's boring though. That's what people will complain about when they make it.
That's what happens sometimes in the teens. You start getting, the quote unquote boring picks, but the teams that are picking in the top 10, and I'm saying this as a team who has 2 top 10 picks. They get the flashy, exciting players, but sometimes there's a reason that they end up consistently picking in the top 10. There's somebody that if we move on to the next pick, who is the who is the Cincinnati Bengals. There's a team that's willing to come up, and I'm going to ask if you can take a call from a Mr. Brian Gutekunst.
Sure. What's the trade offer?
All right. So we're coming up for an offensive lineman, which ironically is what Tennessee could probably use too. But I think Tennessee would also, Green Bay has a little draft capital to kill. How about this?
No, stop.
I'm joking. What about 25 and 50? Oh, that seems like that's too much. What about 25, 88, and maybe a Saturday pick? So like 169 here.
Hand me back a 7th round pick.
Okay. What do you think of that?
I think we can do that.
Okay. All right. So let's make this trade. Green Bay, of course, Green Bay, of course, lost. Well, I don't think they didn't really lose him. They made the choice to not bring him back.
Okay.
David Bakhtiari.
He hadn't played in 3 years anyway.
He hadn't played. Yeah, he hadn't played in 3 years.
I know who you're picking here.
Yeah, they're gonna take Troy Fontenot.
Actually, that was not who I was going to take. But
he's the right tackle, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's right. Yeah. So actually, is it J.C. Latham that's the left tackle here?
Yeah.
Or
I was actually going
Fashanu?
to take. I was going to take Mims.
Oh, okay. Well, you're a Packers. All that you kind of you kind of make that too. So why, since they're your team, even though I'm picking for you, why are you picking Amarius Mims for Green Bay?
I think what they're going to be able to do, I think Rasheed Walker is actually a left tackle. I think that what they're going to do is have him play left. I think they're comfortable there. I think they have a situation at right. And I also think that they care more about, and this is an organization that cares about athleticism almost more than anything else. I think they're the type of front office that thinks that their coaching staff can kind of come in and take elite traits and make them great. And this is the kind of player that, I mean, you can't teach the size, 6'6", 340. I mean, he played at Georgia, so obviously the pedigree doesn't get better than that. Unmatched length. The thing, though, is he's not super polished, so he's not, these Pac-12 guys. He's more of he's a project player, but I think that's what the kind of player Green Bay wants. I think he has the high-end skill set. So that's what the reason I think, and I think he could play right tackle day one for Green Bay, and that's why I went with him.
All righty. So now I'm back on the clock with the Rams. The Rams' first round pick since
Jared Goff.
Yeah, I think so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually they're trading it away. I was actually looking to see if there was a way I could trade away this one, but it doesn't look like anybody's interested. We're gonna take. They're also a team. I know they made the playoffs last year, and they were not too far away from making the divisional round. They had an opportunity to beat the Lions late. They couldn't put them away. But I think they're a team that's also in transition. The poor 49ers, man, what a division they have. They have two teams in transition and another team that still has a ways to go in the Cardinals. Unfortunately,
so you took Terrion Arnold.
Yeah, so Terrion Arnold is going to be our pick. LA needs as much help as possible on defense. They're going to see really quickly that even a guy like Terrion Arnold is not going to make up for what they're losing up front. But he'll bring something to their defense. He's very versatile, played a lot of outside, but also played a lot of nickelback. So I think that's going to be something that they could find use for. I don't even know who their new defensive coordinator is this year. Now that they lost Morris, but I think they're going to be a team that's
is it Brandon Staley, I think?
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah. I think
or did he go to the 49ers? He's a 49ers.
Is he? I didn't think he went there. So, yes, Terrion Arnold, Alabama cornerback to the LA Rams.
Yeah, guy named Chris Shula. So I don't probably related to Don Shula.
Don's nephew or something.
Yeah, but I agree. I think it's a solid pick. It's nice to have the Rams back in the first round for sure. Welcome back. It's been 8 years. So next on the clock, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
This is where, and I thought the Rams might be this type of team. They could go in a lot of different directions here. But I want to put Russell Wilson in a position to succeed.
Okay.
And what is Russell Wilson known for?
What's the word I'm looking for? improvising, deep ball, creating his own space in the pocket, or
Yeah.
just even behind the line of scrimmage.
Moon balls, right?
Yeah.
Deep down the field. Brian Thomas.
All right.
Speed is what I had written down for him.
All right.
He
That's
is an explosive playmaker down the field. This team just lost Deontay Johnson. George Pickens is more of your, like, he's a downfield guy too, but
he's the new Hines Ward.
the way I look at this is you have Brian Thomas is like your Tyler Lockett. He's a lot bigger than Lockett was.
Mhm.
6'3", 209, but he's fast. He'll play your Z. Pickens is your X. They're gonna throw it deep, and that's what Russ does. No more Jerry Jeudy like intermediate stuff. That's not what he was good at. I think this is they're gonna try to build a system and an offense around Russell Wilson. And then maybe in the second round. The only other thing that I thought was maybe going offensive line to just really solidify the run game. But Brian Thomas and the high end traits here. One of the fastest receivers we've seen in a while. You're talking 4.3 speed here. Some people would think Xavier Worthy, but I think like from a football, like you watch the games, like Brian Thomas, like explosive as you know what. So give me Thomas here. So you're next.
No, you are still the
Oh,
Dolphins.
Emma.
Yeah.
So I'm the Dolphins. I'm not going to update the scroll because it's taking too long.
Yes.
So the Dolphins. I'm going to take Fatanu.
Okay.
I got to keep Tua healthy through the whole season. I want
Tua throwing the ball under 2 seconds.
Yeah, but I think the other thing that they're going to have to start doing as well is they got to start figuring out how to more consistently run the ball. But he is your pass pro left tackle. He's really good athlete, but I think he's just kind of a plug and play left tackle that they really need. This is a team that has really struggled to find consistent offensive line, and I think it's limited what they've been able to do offensively. And this is a key piece that they've been missing, but they haven't been able to draft here. Because I think they've been using a lot of draft capital recently. Like they traded for Tyreek Hill, they Bradley Chubb. They traded a first. They lost a first round pick because of punishment from the NFL. With Stephen Ross trying to get Tom Brady to play there. So I think this is a solid move for Miami. I'm going to take Fatanu here. Am I up again or is it?
No, it's me.
Okay. Who are you going?
I'm going to go. I'm with the Eagles right now. I'm going to go with Kool-Aid McKinstry, actually.
Okay.
The Eagles were wildly terrible on defense last year, especially in their secondary. McKinstry, he was talked about at one point as a top 10 pick. He kind of fell off since then. You can even see here in his trends. So like for most of the season, up until about the middle of October, he was seen as a top 10 pick, and now he's kind of fallen off a little bit. He's a really good player. You could see he kind of does a lot of things really well. He's best at zone coverage. He's your typical outside corner. I think he's the guy that Philly needs on their back end. They probably still need help like a safety and stuff like that, but Kool-Aid McKinstry is a good place to start.
Yeah, great name.
For
sure. Like probably one of the best names we've really seen in recent memory is Kool-Aid McKinstry. I'm trying to find his profile real quick so I worked so hard on all these profiles, but I can't remember what number I had him at. Where does he rank on the PFF big board?
He was like 28.
28? Well, that's changed recently. There he is. Yeah, he's gone up. He was 35 when I had him. So he is a really good zone corner. One of the best in the draft. So I think, only 2 career interceptions. The one thing that is always a red flag for me is like if you're not making a ton of plays on the ball in college, what makes me think that you're going to do it in the pros? So your ability to be like an impact player is limited. So he's going to have to be one of the best zone corners. The good news is teams play majority zone coverage. And then the big plus for him is played significant snaps as an 18-year-old. So you know the talent's there.
Yeah.
If he didn't have talent, he ain't playing an 18 in the SEC.
No.
And he's got 2 years of starting experience. So I don't think he's very likely to bust. My question is really more how special can he be? So that'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays. But they play a lot of zone in Philly too, which most teams play a lot of zone. But I think, these are the kind of players, they're just kind of plug and play starters. Typical for Alabama, right? They just defensive.
They just hired Vic Fangio, didn't they?
Yeah. So Fangio runs a lot of what does he typically run a lot of?
He runs a lot of zone, but a lot of what they call cover 8, which is like a modified cover 6. Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think, would be perfect for him.
Yeah. Where was the layout that I had? Oh, that's not it. There we go. Okay. But yeah, I like Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Eagles. I think that's a good pick. Falcons, you're up again.
Yeah, next up is the Falcons. So we're going to continue to help out their defense. They drafted Jershawn Newton at 11. They drafted Latu, right?
And this is Minnesota's pick that they got from who did they trade?
The JJ McCarthy trade.
No, but how did the Vikings get 23?
They got it from Cleveland.
As part of.
But no, didn't they trade it with Houston? Oh, this is Houston. Sean Watson trade.
This was originally the Houston trade.
It was Cleveland traded it to Houston.
And then Houston traded it to the Vikings.
Yes.
Yeah. For the rights to
Nate Wiggins, ironically a Clemson player. So that's kind of ironic.
They love Clemson players too.
They do. Well, it's pretty close to
AJ Terrell.
Everybody used to hope that that's where Deshaun Watson grew up as a fan of, or he's from Atlanta, isn't he?
Yeah.
I want to say, yeah. So, that's the pick he could have ended up on. But anyways, the Falcons are going to grab Nate Wiggins.
Well, I'm saying Atlanta loves Clemson players.
Yes.
Because, this would give them an AJ Terrell, Nate Wiggins quarterback duo. Yep. And then Grady Jarrett's on that team too. So
Wiggins is really fast guy. He didn't have a wild amount of versatility. He played just mainly outside, but he still played very well. Played well in man coverage. Not the world's greatest in zone, but still pretty good. Struggled in run defense, but I think Atlanta, with the additions they've made already this year, I don't think they're going to need their corner playing run defense as much as
he's a luxury pick. So he's really great at one thing, and that's man-to-man coverage. He's kind of a liability in pretty much everything else. He's very small. Measured in 6'1", 173. That's tiny. He's going to be able to run with anybody, and that's why he's so good in man-to-man.
Yeah.
You're never going to be able to separate completely from him because he'll be able to catch you. That 4.28 speed is ridiculous. But the problem is in a defense that lacks talent, he might not be able to make the impact you want him to make. But on this defense, they have versatility already. I think this is a luxury pick for a defense that is really building up a lot of talent. The Falcons, on paper, if they came away in this draft with Latu and Wiggins, like that's a damn good class for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my turn, I think, right?
I think so.
So
yes, the Bengals. This is the pick they traded with Green Bay.
No, you got Dallas.
Oh no, the Cowboys. Yeah,
So
sorry.
you're up again.
So the Cowboys are up. The Cowboys they have a lot of needs. I'm actually going to draft Olu Fashanu. They lost Tyron Smith to who did he sign with again? The Jets, right?
Jets, yeah.
Yeah. So I have them drafting Olu Fashanu. Especially when you're a team that needs a lot of help, as we've said before, start with the trenches, start with the offensive line. Fashanu, former high school teammate of Caleb Williams, ironically. But I think this is the guy that they're going to need to. I mean, he's not to expect he's going to be the guy to replace Tyron Smith in terms of full body of work. Is that's way too much expectations, but he's at least somebody I think that they can slot in there for the time being, and maybe their offense doesn't skip too much of a beat. I think they're pretty fine. I know it says they need help at running back and wide receiver. Well, they desperately need help at running back, but you're not taking one in the first round. They learned that lesson.
The more I think about
receiver, I think it's not as big of a need as offensive line right now.
The more I think about this too, is like the more I'm starting to wonder why we let him fall this far.
Yeah.
The more I look back on, because I'm the one that built this profile, but I mean, he really did have, like, when you look at draft prospects, and we'll show his PFF thing here. When you look at his draft profile, like, go to his stats real fast.
Yes. 1 second here.
Yeah. He is one of the elite pass blockers.
Look at his true pass set.
Yeah. I mean, you're not really going to find a better pass protector.
No.
Like, and if you go by his snaps at the college level, they're all at left tackle. He's got great size. He's got great speed. He started basically from day one, or not day one, but like he contributed in his second year of school.
Mm-hmm.
He's a 3-year producer. Every career stat, like I said, at left tackle, and he's going to be a 22-year-old rookie. What's not to like about this guy? I'm starting to wonder, like, if this year weren't completely star-studded with wide receivers
and
quarterbacks, and you have a physical freak like Joe Alt, who's like 6'8".
He probably goes top 5, top 6 in a normal year.
I'm starting to be like, and it just hit me, like, I didn't realize, like, I'm kind of kicking myself. Like, if I'm the Packers, I would have rather had. Dang it! Like, I would have rather had this guy.
Mike McCarthy is laughing.
Yeah. Granted, this guy's more of a left tackle. I think Mims is more of a right.
Yeah.
So a lot of that's preference on where you think they line up. But this guy feels like a safer, like, day one starter for sure. So Dallas, of course, rakes, and Dallas is one of the best drafting teams in all of
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So let's hurry up here because I know we're approaching 2 hours. So, but this has been good practice. I really do think
it is.
And it's approaching
midnight sometime.
Yeah, it's approaching midnight for me. We have so who's up?
Now you have the Bengals. You do have one team that's willing to trade up, the Lions. I'm not trading, so it wouldn't be much of a trade anyways, I think.
Has Dallas Turner been drafted?
Dallas Turner was drafted. Who drafted him? Who drafted him? I know. Oh, Seattle.
What about J.C. Latham?
J.C. Latham is available.
Put him up. He's a Cincinnati Bengal.
All right.
2 years of SEC experience. He did play some guard as a true freshman, zone scheme type player, which does fit what the Bengals have traditionally done. I think he's a plug and play player for a team that really needs offensive line help. So I'll keep that pretty short. Who's next?
The Bucks are, so that would be me.
Yep.
The Bucks, another team with a good bit of help needed. Now they're what's happening now is they're running into a little bit more of an issue in the NFC South, having to deal with Kirk Cousins and and the rest of, I mean, the Bucs really haven't had to deal with anybody like that since Drew Brees left. So I think because of that, they're going to go defense here. They probably need defensive back help more, I think, but I'm going to have them draft Jared Versey, keep him in the state of Florida.
Why not TJ Tampa?
I mean, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
No, Jared Versey, a great year at Florida State. I actually, if the Bears,
I think it's just Jared
Verse. Yeah, sorry. If the Bears were to be in a position where they had to trade back from 9 into like the middle teens or late teens, he's somebody I would like actually the Bears to draft. A really high true pass rush grade. He also plays the run really well, or fairly well, I should say.
Yeah.
I think this is a guy that Tampa could definitely use. Getting after Kirk Cousins in that division.
Yeah. And I think, too, he's a great fit for the scheme that they run with Bowles. They have Vita Vea still up the middle. Mm-hmm. So he's not the best in run defense, but I think what they're going to ask him to do is just get after the quarterback. He's got good athleticism, nice build, good athlete, like I said, good athlete. And he's a local boy, so it just makes all the sense in the world. So, in terms of local boy, he played at Florida State. I don't think he's actually from Florida. Arizona.
Brett Veach called up. I was going to say Steve Keim, but it's not Steve Keim anymore. It's what the hell is that guy in? Monty
Ossenfort.
Yes, he called him up, and I think he wants to move up. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to move up to 27.
Okay.
27 or 32 and 64 seems to be too much for the Chiefs. The Cardinals certainly don't need much more draft. I mean, like they're pretty stacked.
So the Chiefs, you're looking to make a trade with the Chiefs. So yeah. I'm the Chiefs GM because I'm the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
To move up 5 spots, I think the 3rd round pick should do it.
Yeah, the 95.
Yeah, I'm fine with that if I'm the Chiefs.
All right, so now the Chiefs are on the board.
I'm taking receiver.
Yeah.
And the question is, what kind of flavor do I want? And I think that's a great question, but I'm going to take the high end potential because I know I can still have a functional offense even if this guy's not a day 1 hit. And I'm going to take Adonai Mitchell.
Okay.
You can't teach the size speed that this guy possesses.
That's God-given.
He has a really, really awesome RAS score. I mean, like you said, it's God-given ability. He's got size, 6'2", 205, elite pedigree. The thing that he doesn't necessarily have is a production profile. And with receivers, you really want to see college production. I mean, it doesn't happen very often. Like there's guys like DK Metcalf, there's a couple of others that didn't have great college careers that ended up as good NFL receivers. It can happen, but the likelihood of it happening isn't there. But I think I'm willing to take the chance because if I can hit on that type of player, I think Adonai Mitchell, or a lot of people call him A.D. Mitchell from Texas, is that guy. And the one thing he was able to do in 23 was he was able to find the end zone. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's always a sign that a receiver is talented if they have the ability to get to the end zone. And that was like one of my big question marks with Quentin Johnston last year. Is he didn't actually score that many touchdowns. And you want to see double-digit touchdowns from first-round prospects. So I'm going to take a shot on A.D. Mitchell. You could say Xavier Worthy, but I would rather have the 6'2", 205 guy that runs sub 4.4 versus
and stick him with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I'd rather have that guy versus and they produce the same versus, and a lot of people say Xavier Worthy was more productive at Texas. but I think I'm projecting it how I think they go into the next level. I'd rather have AD Mitchell than Xavier Worthy if I'm the Chiefs. So you're next.
No, you are. You have
I'm-
Buffalo.
And if I'm Buffalo, I'm really pissed that just happened
Yes.
because I
Also,
wanted,
probably why they maybe Kansas City wanted to move up.
yeah, because they want a receiver in a bad way as well. And I'm looking around, and there's not a, there's still a ton of different guys available, but we're starting to get to the end of the elite trait guys, and you could even argue Adonai Mitchell was kind of we're kind of in the first run of the second receivers, and it might be a reach, but I'm gonna go with Lad McConkey from Georgia.
Okay.
And a lot of people are gonna mistake it because he's a smaller white guy. He's not a slot receiver.
No.
I think he is in a lot of ways an outside receiver. I don't think he replaces Diggs necessarily
Yeah.
because Diggs was not necessarily a yards after catch player. But I like what McConkey does in terms of being
route
able to
running
line
is
up
incredible.
route running, and I think they're going to have to start changing up the offense. They're going to have to get a little more run heavy and take a little pressure off Josh Allen to win in January.
Yeah.
And this, I don't, some people would argue like, you'd rather have the high end speed, but I fell in love with McConkey when I saw that yards per route run. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking like, what is that, Marvin Harrison Jr. level good?
Yeah.
The problem for McConkey is he didn't have a season. He just had a string of games where he really had that elite production. So he hasn't been able to put it together because he hasn't stayed healthy. That's the one concern. But I think Lad McConkey's a first-round talent, and he did it in the SEC, and that matters to me. So if I'm the Bills, going Lad McConkey.
All right, so then that leaves me up with the Detroit Lions. The Lions, I have them grabbing TJ Tampa. He's not going to Tampa. He's going to Detroit, the team that knocked Tampa out of the playoffs. Of course, Cam Sutton is no longer a Lion after that whole charade. So Detroit desperately needs, and their secondary needed the help to begin with, but they definitely need it now. So I think they're going to go with TJ Tampa. As it says there, long arms. He's got the traits. I think when you're talking about the way that Detroit has in the last couple of years, well, especially this year, they've done a lot to boost up their defensive line, giving guys that have the traits, the athleticism that a guy like TJ Tampa has, opportunity, especially as a rookie, opportunities to kind of not have to play the perfect coverage at all times, and maybe the opportunity to improvise themselves on the back end. It's going to lead to good things.
Yeah.
So I like this pick for Detroit. I think that's where they're going. Okay.
And then I have the Ravens. So there's a lot of different directions the Ravens could always go in. I think with them, they could use offensive line. They could go edge. They have really probably one of the more, they don't have a ton of needs necessarily, so they could kind of go best player available. But I'm going to go kind of out of the ordinary with them because I think one of the most underrated needs on this team is offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take Barton. So this is a team that has an aging offensive line. And he played tackle at Duke, I think. Go to his profile. Go to stats, because I think he played a lot. Yeah, he played a lot of left tackle. But apparently, according to a lot of scouts, he's going to play guard or center at the next level, which I always thought was interesting. You don't hear a lot about tackles moving to center. But he is a really, really good zone kind of interior lineman, is what they're projecting to be. But Barton might not necessarily be the best fit for the Ravens, I guess, in hindsight, because they're more of a power run team. But I do think that offensive line might be something that the Ravens need to look at, and nobody's necessarily considering that for them in the first round. So you're next on the board. No, I'm next.
You are your last pick.
And I didn't do a ton of homework on the Ravens because I was more focused on this pick. And going Bo Nix. So
all right, yeah.
Bo Nix, another quarterback.
I was thinking it had to be a quarterback.
Yeah, so it was either Penix or Nix. I think Nix is the perfect fit for what the Broncos are trying to do. This would be a dream draft for the Broncos because you basically got Ayuk, you got Nix, and you didn't have to trade up.
Yeah.
So, if you ask me, honestly, I'd rather be the Broncos in this situation than the Vikings for what I paid. I got not an elite receiver, but like a Pro Bowl level receiver and possibly the same level of quarterback. And I didn't give up future first round picks to do it.
Yeah.
The thing about Nix, though, that concerns me a little bit, I guess let's start with the pros. Very accurate. One of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football history. Like, if you look at the numbers.
Yeah.
But a lot of his production came with screen passes. So it makes his whole profile so cloudy. The other issue I have is at Auburn, he wasn't very effective. Now, that a lot of that could be due to the dysfunction that he dealt with while he was at Auburn under Malzahn. And then after Malzahn left, they had more dysfunction. And, he's not there anymore. He had some success at Oregon, so he was able to rebound it. But guys like Kenny Pickett, for example, these late bloomers, they don't work out a lot. And lastly, so he's first in turnover-worthy play rate. So he takes care of the football like nobody else. But he's also not even in the top 100 in big-time throw rate.
Yeah.
This
dude is scared. Not checking.
However, I will say there's one team where I feel really good about him landing. That's with a team like with Sean Payton at the helm, because I think he would build an offense that would kind of cater to that, just like he did with Drew Brees. I never thought Drew Brees was that guy that was making a bunch of wow throws, but he's just a guy that was just throwing to the open guy every single play and just moving his team effectively down the field. And I'm not saying Nix is Brees, but I think Sean Payton would be very happy if this is the scenario that played out for them.
All right, so that leaves us with one final pick of our first round. It's the Arizona Cardinals again.
Yes.
And I'm going to I was so enthralled actually by the Bo Nix thing. I wasn't even paying attention.
I just do that to people.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm gonna go with something that's it's probably me being a homer. I'm gonna go with Mikey Sandersill to the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
That's probably a reach. Mikey Sandersill was my favorite player on Michigan last year. He was incredible in terms of his playmaking abilities, the way that his leadership qualities, his versatility. I mean, people forget he started as a wide receiver. He played and he played for a long time too. There's actually a picture of him, if anybody remembers, from the 2019 Michigan Penn State game when Ronnie, what the hell was his name? Ronnie, can't think of his last name now. Dropped a potential game-tying touchdown in the end zone against Penn State in Happy Valley. There's a picture after the game of a redshirt freshman hugging Ronnie on the is it Ronnie? What? No, I can't think of it now. On the field after the game, and that was Mikey Sandersill. And he climbed his way up to being a somewhat of a contributor during the 2021 season. That was the year that Michigan finally broke through. They beat Ohio State. They won the Big Ten. And he could have entered the draft after last year. He wanted to come back. He wanted to be a part of a national championship team. And he did. He had the game clinching interception in the national title game. The problem with Mikey is he is very small. He's
definitely going to be a slot corner.
Yeah, he's definitely going to play slot. But I think this is a guy that, in terms of a team that is like on the come up, is needing maybe some leadership qualities on their defensive side of the ball. I think Mikey Sandersville is a good way to start that for them.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So you want to just go down the list real quick. So let me scroll back up. So we had Caleb Williams to the Bears, number 1. Commanders taking Drake May, number 2. Patriots going Jaden Daniels from LSU, number 3. Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals at 4. Joe Alt from Notre Dame at 5 to the Chargers. Brock Bowers, 6 to the Jets. Malik Neighbors from LSU to the Titans at 7. J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings at 8. Roma Dunze to 9 with the Bears. Fuaga from Oregon State, the tackle to the Giants. Latu, the edge rusher from UCLA to the Falcons at 11. Brian Murphy, the second from Texas. He'll go to the 49ers. Quinion Mitchell, the fast guy, always going to the Raiders at 13. Jerzon Newton from Illinois, the interior defensive lineman to the Saints at 14. Cooper DeJean to the Colts at 15, and Dallas Turner to the Seahawks at 16. We have Jackson Powers Johnson to the Jags at 17. Amarius Mims to the Packers at 18. Terrion Arnold, the corner from Alabama, to the Rams at 19. Brian Thomas Jr., the speedy receiver from LSU, to the Steelers at 20. Fatanu from Washington, the tackle, to the Dolphins, protecting to his blind side. Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Eagles. Nate Wiggins to the Falcons. Fashanu to the Cowboys. I still hate the fact that happened. J.C. Latham to the Bengals. Jared Verse to the Bucks. Adonai Mitchell to the Chiefs. Lad McConkey to the Bills. T.J. Tampa to the Lions. Graham Barton to the Ravens. Bo Nix to the Broncos. And Mikey Sandersville. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
To the Cardinals. And that rounds out our fictional first round, and none of this will happen. So with that, have a great night. Thank you for sticking with us for 2 hours and 17 minutes, all 0 of you. Have a great night.